Welcome to Lair of the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, a first in my new series of what I'm calling American Steel. This is where I'm going to be featuring and discussing underground, obscure US 80s metal bands that I think you should check out. So, the first band that I've picked for today is a band from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania called Valhalla. I am a big fan, as you've probably gathered from some of my other videos, of early 80s classic metal. I'm talking Dio era Black Sabbath, Ozzy with Randy Rhoads, Dio solo, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. And so I love searching out and trying to find underground 80s metal bands that fit into this sort of mold. Clean vocals, catchy songs, that little bit of a dark vibe to what they do. So that's why I wanted to feature Valhalla, because they tick off all those boxes for me. So, like I mentioned, Valhalla was a band from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they recorded an EP in 1984 with 6 tracks on it that they self-financed, self-released themselves. And then they recorded a demo in 1985 that had 5 tracks on it. The band would eventually move from Pittsburgh to Arizona, where unfortunately they would break up not too long after that. The members of the band are David Fayfolt on vocals, who would go on to move to LA and sing with a bunch of bands out there, one of them being Hawk and another band called Fifth Angel, probably bands that I will feature in later episodes. William Horniak on guitars, Edward Hogan on drums, Joseph Much on bass, and John Merkt on keyboards. So this band for me has a real kind of mixture of like some Dio era Sabbath, maybe a little bit of Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, Dio solo mixed in there too. The first side of the album is their EP, and the EP is you can tell that it's kind of a little bit of a lo-fi recording, but it still sounds good, doesn't take away from any of the songs. In fact, I kind of like this kind of thing. I like these slightly low budget recordings that give it some real kind of atmosphere. And for me, the side A of this record has that. So side A opens up with Break of Darkness, which is a short instrumental, kind of swirling keyboard instrumental, kind of swirling sound effect type things that then leads right into Looking for the Light, which has a real Dio Holy Diver vibe to it. It's got sort of that mid-tempo chug to it, and the vocalist even does a ooh yeah, right now, like thing that sounds just like Ronnie in the beginning of Holy Diver. I should mention that Dave Fayfolt, the vocalist, has a really great voice, sort of an upper range, real powerful, dramatic kind of voice, which adds to the vibe of these songs. So Break of Darkness leads right into Looking for the Light, which has this great catchy chorus, looking for the light, looking for the light. It's got a cool keyboard line at the end. It has kind of like an ah type sound that plays as the song's going out. The keyboards in this in general add more of like texture and atmosphere to the songs rather than like a lot of soloing or anything like that, although there are a few spots where the keyboard does solo. Night Stalker starts off with a riff that reminds me a lot of Judas Priest's Running Wild, that kind of like bouncing off the open string vibe. And then it has this flat, fast, classical style riff that reminds me of like the guitar solo in Death Alley Driver from Rainbow Straight Between the Eyes, or the riff in The Ripper by Judas Priest, that sort of middle guitar section thing. And the guitar playing on this is really cool. It has that nice mixture for me. I like that little bit of a classical vibe a la Randy Rhoads or maybe Uli Roth, Ritchie Blackmore, and he has a lot of that William Horniak has a lot of that here in all these songs. This sort of melodic, some dive bar stuff here and there, but a little bit of a classical melodic feel to his soloing, which I love. So Night Stalker, really cool song. He's a Night Stalker, it's a great old school metal thing. Valhalla is another cool one. It's got a neat little keyboard intro. They actually have we'll call them pro shot videos on YouTube. Well, I'd like to call them staged videos, where they're up there sort of singing, playing along and singing along to the studio track, and they have a video for this particular song. Ship of Dreams is probably my favorite song on this album. It starts off with a plucked, kind of clean, classical style guitar thing with these long held out keyboard notes, and then it moves into this cool, like doomy, Children of the Sea style riff thing, which is just really awesome. In Her Eyes is the last song on side A and the last song from their EP. And it starts off with this nylon classical plucked guitar thing at the beginning. Reminds me a little bit of like Randy Rhoads. Then it kicks into this medium style groove thing that really makes me think of In Trance from the Scorpions, Uli Roth guitar riff style thing. And then it goes into this fast section, which has a really nice guitar solo, again, with this sort of those Blackmore, Rhodes, Roth overtones to it. It's got a cool keyboard solo in it that has a real 80s style sound. Everything like maybe a Moog, if you know what a Moog is. That was like a late 70s, early 80s keyboard sound. Has a really unique kind of sound to it. Side B is their demo. And their demo sound quality is kind of rough. It's much rougher than the side A part of this album. And it distracts a little bit from the songs because it is really rough. It sounds like maybe they recorded something on a 4-track in their practice space in their garage or something. And the vocals don't sound quite as good on side B here, the demo. In fact, when I first heard it, I thought, is this the same singer? Because the vocals on side A are really, really, really great. On side B, they're good, but they're just not as good as their self-financed EP. So it made me think, is this the same guy? And it is the same guy. But it still sounds good. It's just not quite as good as all the stuff that is on the side A here. It starts off Temptress, which is a standard fare kind of metal tune. Caught a Prisoner has a real Rainbow Spotlight Kids style main riff. It's got a nice keyboard solo in it. Tribulation has a nice classical style, Randy Rhoads style guitar solo in it. And the album the side B ends with Reign of the Wizard, which is kind of a epic metal, fist in the air, battle metal type of thing with this acrobatic type of vocal thing where he jumps up really high for one note in the chorus of the song. So probably my favorite song on side 2, Reign of the Wizard, and I'm a sucker for fantasy style lyrics. So they never properly released anything, and this was a compilation that was put out by WYLYN Records in 2016. You can find copies of this out there. I don't know, maybe there's been other people that have reissued some of their stuff. I know there's a CD compilation out there too. I'm not sure what's on that. I'm guessing it's what's on here and maybe some other stuff. I don't know. But this is really cool. It wasn't too hard for me to find, so I encourage people to go out there, look this up. It's also on the streaming services, so you can hear it on Spotify. And I have Amazon Music. That's where I was listening to it along with the vinyl. I will try to leave links. I think I can do this. Leave links in the description to some YouTube videos where you can also check them out. So if you're like me, a fan of good old school US style metal, I highly encourage you to go check this out because this has some really cool stuff on it, some real kind of dark over dark vibes to some of the songs, real classic metal, early Priest sounding, early 80s Priest, early Ozzy sound to it, Dio era Black Sabbath. So some really cool stuff. I highly encourage everybody to check it out. The record comes like this. It's got an insert on the inside. It has some pictures of the band and a little short biography. It was a colored vinyl, which is, I don't have it right here with me. It's on my turntable in the other room. So, but yeah, a really nice release. Sounds, sounds really good for what it is here, which is, a self-financed EP and a rough demo. But whoever did the mastering job on it did a good job of cleaning it up and making it sound really nice on the vinyl. So, okay, so check it out, Valhalla. Leave a comment down below if you've heard this band. I am going to be featuring and covering more obscure 80s US metal bands and metal bands just in general from the 80s, because I love this kind of thing. I love searching around and trying to find those bands that had to have that classic early 80s metal sound that I love. So let me know in the comments if you've heard them or maybe some other bands you want me to check out. In the meantime, make sure you hit subscribe and like, and until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.